Hi folks, a quick review of using an older camera for amateur or even professional work. This is my older D7000. I still use this a lot, mainly for videos, but I do use it for a lot of stock photography for products that I sell online. This has been superseded by the 7100, then the 7200, and recently the 750. Now this is 16 megapixels, whereas the following cameras, the 71 and 72, are 24 megapixels. And you may think, well, 16 megapixels, is that really enough? Well, here's some figures for you, just to give you something to think about. The resolution on the D7000 is 4928 by 3262, giving a total of 16 megapixels. Now, even if you were shooting professional work or high quality work, then depending on what you are shooting and where it's going to go. Normally, the highest required resolution is for a magazine, A4 size, because that normally is required to be 300 dpi native. Now, at 16 megapixels, at 300 dpi, and that is PPI, pixels per inch. My apologies. That gives the highest resolution that can be seen with the eye. Any more than that would be wasted. Even that is probably too much, but still. Now, at 300 pixels per inch, that resolution translates into 16.4 inches length by 10.8 inches wide, and then the A4 is 11.69 high by 8.27 wide, so it easily exceeds that at 300 dpi, which is no surprise that the D4 and D4S were 16 megapixels, and they've only recently been superseded by the D5, which is only up to 20. So you have plenty of pixels for the highest image quality that is required. Obviously, if you're going larger than that, you may ask, well, that's not quite enough. But when you go to a higher size, you are looking from further away, and therefore the pixels per inch that are required begins to drop. Ironically, people think that the highest resolution of all is required for something like a billboard. But if you do have a little search online, you'll see that some billboards, they need hardly anything. 2 or 3 or 4 megapixels can be enough because it is viewed from so far away. So whereas an A4 page in a magazine that's read here may require 300 dpi, a 12 by 18 image on a wall can comfortably be 200 or 160. And that can drop as the image gets bigger because it is to be viewed from further away. So in terms of resolution, with the exception of cropping, then this can provide everything that you need. Obviously, if you are doing landscapes, if you are doing something that you do want, architecture, the highest possible detail, whether it is for printing even in large format in the highest resolution that you can, then obviously that's when you look at the higher resolutions, be it 24 or the 36 megapixels of the D800 or the 40 odd of the D850. But there is one caveat, and that is that the lenses are not capable of resolving that sort of detail. So nearly all of the Nikon lenses, if they are used on, say, the D850, which is 44, 45 or 46 megapixels, my apologies, they would not resolve anything near 46. They wouldn't even resolve the detail of 36. In fact, if you were to put the best Nikon lens on a D850 and also on a D750, which is 24 megapixels, the D850 would be better, but the detail resolved would only be 10 or 20% more. Now for the highest resolution, resolving power, then you need to look to the ultimate lenses, some of the mega expensive Zeiss lenses, not all of them, but a few of them. Then you will resolve much closer to what the camera is capable of, but it will still not be 46 megapixels of detail. It would only be 60 to 70% of that, more than likely. So you need to bear that in mind, that as you go up the lens, you're actually just getting more volume of data, but you're not actually resolving any more details. So there's always that to bear in mind. It's not all about megapixels. Once you go beyond, once you do go actually beyond 12, 16 megapixels, the lens begins to make more difference. It's noticeable at 24 megapixels if you're using a lens that's not brilliant. And once you go beyond 24 megapixels, then it becomes increasingly noticeable and more vital. But if you're shooting studio work for a magazine or something like that, for eBay, online shop, even this is perfect. For video work, fine, this does full HD, unless you really want to be a nerd and you're concerned about minor things that will not be visible to anybody on YouTube. That's another matter. If you're shooting in 4K, fine, then you need to look at later cameras, but you do need to bear in mind the file size of 4K is horrendous. You actually need a very powerful computer to be able to process that sort of data, and the storage for it can become absolutely ridiculous. And when they're viewed on YouTube, which is where most videos end up nowadays, it's marginal difference. Fine, if you really are a specialist, that's another matter, then you'll be looking for something specialist. I'm just referring to the use of a camera like this, which is, this body is available. You can get a good body for around 200 to 250 pounds with a low shutter count. And if you have a good lens on it, for example, on here for studio work, close-up shots, I've got the legendary Nikon 60mm 2.8 macro, the D. This one is the best one of all, and this is possibly in the top 5 or 6 sharpest lenses that Nikon have ever made, and it really is a wonderful lens. And it's like the utility knife of lenses because it's a full frame lens, so it can be used on a full frame camera at 60mm, give or take, a standard lens, a macro lens. It can go on a crop sensor where it can become a perfect portrait lens, a fantastic macro lens. It is absolutely wonderful. When you switch to manual focus, it's lovely and smooth. It doesn't feel all loose like the later G lenses, the autofocus lenses. It does have a limiter on it, so if you're not using it for close-up macro work, you can set the limit so it won't focus any closer than a couple of feet, so that the focusing is fast, it won't hunt so closely. It's amazing lens, and the design of the lens, where the lens is receded so much you don't even need a lens hood for it. Very good lens. On this camera, it produces images for production be it in A4 size magazines or online for online shots, as good as anything else that is out there. Any improvement on this for online especially would not make any difference. Nothing that would be noticeable. So just a quick thought, D7000, I'm sure there's similar scenarios with some of the Canon cameras, but being a Nikon fan, I really don't know much about those, so you'd have to look elsewhere for info on the Canon range, but definitely 7000, I wouldn't be without it. Okay, bye.